Hello, you beautiful people. Today I'm going to be talking about why I, personally, moved to Peru and the circumstances that got me here. So I'm going to be clear, this video is not going to be me talking about all the things that are wrong with the US. It's more going to be a more personal scope of why I decided to do this. And my hope is that for those of you that are either thinking of traveling or thinking of moving to another country, this information is good for you to think about too, kind of your own circumstances and what is good and right for you. So first and foremost, my primary job is online. Now, I am an entrepreneur, so a lot of the money that I make myself. I have had jobs here and there. However, my main focus is always entrepreneurship. I'm like hiking up a rather dangerous spot. Okay. What can I do to make money? How can I go about making money? So that allows me to do it from anywhere. Now, of course, there are options that I normally have that I don't have here. But for the most part, my financial income can come from any location, anywhere, because it's online. So that was a benefit, but that's not necessarily the reason why I moved out here. Because I think a lot of us have online jobs where we can kind of go anywhere and we decide to stay where we're at or not really move much. So, okay, I'm now on top of the big rock. So that was the big first beneficial piece, was I have money that I can make from anywhere. Now, of course, with all entrepreneurship, it ebbs and flows, but I can make money anywhere. So that really opened up my options. I think if you want to move to another country, you really have a couple options there. Either having access to money anywhere is a must, or the place that you're wanting to move to having access to kind of a comparable wage. Because if I was to work here in Peru, I think minimum wage here is 8 soles an hour, which is about $2 an hour. So not comparable. The minimum wage to property gap, I think, is like, it's much larger than it is in the US. Here it's like $150,000 for a property on $2 an hour minimum wage. Like, it's just not happening. Maybe it's, anyway. So I had my finances kind of locked down somewhat. The dogs do not like that I'm here right now. They're barking at me. So the second thing was, I was kind of feeling lost where I was. There were definitely some problems that I was having in my own personal life that I was trying to escape, which isn't the healthiest response. But when I actually was thinking about getting out of there, due to the entrepreneurship side of what I do, I was running a retreat here in Peru, and I kind of just had this thought. It's cheaper in Peru, and I'm already getting my plane ticket covered and a period of my stay covered by this retreat. What if I just stayed out there and moved there? And that's really where the thought kind of implanted itself. The circumstances really lined up well so that getting here was easy. And for me personally, I'm very much a minimalist. If you scroll back and watch enough of my videos, I'm wearing like 4 different shirts because I own 4 different shirts, and you never see my pants, but I wear 4 different pants. One of the only items that is unnecessary that I have are these guys, and they're kind of necessary for me because I'm light-haired, fair-skinned, or fair, well, you know what I'm trying to say. So my green eyes, they get destroyed by the sun, so I feel like they're necessary. But anyway, point being, I'm a pretty minimalistic guy, so I didn't have a lot of things holding me down, and that's one of the big things that I think for a lot of people. If you're a person who likes stuff and you have a lot of stuff, moving abroad most likely isn't for you. I didn't have that anchor, so making the decision to leave the country was super easy. Another thing that made it easy for me is my connection to my family is very weak. I have a couple people in my larger family, my family at large, I should say. I don't even know if that's the right term. Why am I blanking on terms today? Sorry. But I have a few people in my family that I keep in contact with, but otherwise we're spread out and we're not close. So I didn't really have the attachment of family keeping me to the US either. I could definitely see for some people having trauma within their family or being disassociated from their family, either from their family's perspective or you doing it to your family. But not having that connection to family helped. I'm not saying you have to not be close with your family to move out to another country. That's not at all what I'm saying. I find that it made it easier for me and other people that I've met that have done so here. For those of you that are really close to your family, I think you could definitely find support in your decision, but you're going to be further from people who make you feel comfortable and safe and at home, something that I don't really have access to from my family, so it made the decision super easy for me. And as I said before, I already had my plane tickets covered, so I came out here, and then I started poking around to see, like, as time was getting closer, like, what would it look like to live there? At first, I found out about the tourist visa here in Peru specifically. Whenever you're going somewhere, you should poke and learn about, like, timings that you can stay without having to pay anything, what you can do to stay longer, all that stuff, just to have the information, just in case anything goes wrong too. Because sometimes, like, for example, if I lost my passport and couldn't leave the country for some reason, this never happened to me, so this is a completely hypothetical. I don't know how the situation would really play out, but if my tourist visa ran over here and I couldn't get back because I didn't have a passport or something, it's like $1 a day that I would need to pay that I overstayed. There's no criminal charges on me or anything like that. Like, that's the kind of stuff I want to know, just in case anything goes wrong, or if I decide to postpone my flight for some other reason, like I get sick and I don't want to get people sick on the plane. I just like to know that information. So I looked into it, and I found out that here in Peru, you get 2 sets of 90-day stays on a tourist visa per year, and the year starts the day that you first enter Peru, not of the new year ever. So if you came here in 2001, or if you came here in 2015 on June 5th and left on June 15th, and you stayed for 10 days and you didn't come back until 2024, your year still starts on June 5th. Doesn't matter how long it's been since the last time you've been here. So you get 2 90-day periods from June 5th to June 5th. They can be separated by just driving a bus or a car outside the country, getting your visa redone, and coming back. So that means you can spend 180 days here total. So 6 months, essentially. So we got here and we started I got here and I started my 6-month clock, and I realized that I liked it. I didn't really have a lot to go back to. And I wasn't fully sure I was going to move yet because I wasn't really looking at my business yet. I still had a job that I did part-time in New York. So I got back to New York after staying here for a period of time. After the retreat, I was out of work for about a month. I showed back up, and it was tax season when I got back. So I got my tax returns from my business, from my accountant, and I got my tax returns from the work that I did. And I ended up making more from my own business, which isn't saying a lot. However, when I'm in Peru, it goes a long way. So I was staying in New York where I was making okay money, but I wasn't making great money for the area. That's misleading. I was making awful money for the I was making awful money for the area. For New York in general, I was making just terrible money. Now, I loved my job, and if I was to work there for a period of time, the money grows and it would have been great. But just the amount that was actually on my tax return was abysmal compared to the cost of living there. So, yeah, I looked at both. I decided to make the decision between my finances and staying for a job that wasn't necessary. They were paying me more than minimum wage, but they weren't necessarily paying me a livable wage. That wasn't on them, but it was what it was. So, looking at my financial situation, looking at my not really having much stuff, not really having much connection, I decided to move. And the last big piece I want to bring up is, for me, I have a lot of debt in the US as far as student loan debt. So, which, whether I had a great job or not, I wouldn't possibly be able to pay and maintain a life of having a home, like renting a home. My my student loan payments are more than some people's monthly rent is what the total comes out to. There's a whole long story of how we got there, but it is what it is, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it or paint it or say that it wasn't my fault. At the end of the day, I decided to take the loans, but very high loans, which are kicking in very soon. So that really also swayed it. I didn't know if I wanted to set down roots in the US in a place where I was never going to be financially free. The student loans that I have, I couldn't bankrupt out of. Paying them back would have been a possibility maybe in 10 years or so, if I was to make like a minimum payment. But essentially, the interest rate is like 13.75% per year. So greater yields than the best year, than a better than average year in the stock market. So it just wasn't likely to happen that way. So, and the amount that it was going to grow by the time I was going to be able to make any real dents in it wasn't. So I just decided to come out here, and I like Peru. I've been here many times, so it wasn't just like, this is my shitty situation. I genuinely love this country, and I genuinely love the people and the freshness of the food and everything. So it wasn't like I made this decision because I was like, everything sucks in the US, I'm leaving. It was more so like I had nothing for me in the US at the time. That's not to say that won't change. For example, if this YouTube thing blows up, I'd really like to travel the world and make videos about it, and then take the rest of the money that I make and not invest it, but like use it for philanthropy in countries that need help, kind of like the way that Mr. Beast does a little bit, but more traveling. So that's not to say I'm not to go back to the US, but there's really not much for me there. So I made the decision based off of that. I wanted what would give me the most opportunity to live the life that I wanted to live. Because at the end of the day, we get 75 to 100 years, some of us less. And I don't really want to waste those years not doing the things that I like to do. So it's a balance between being reasonable about not setting yourself up for failure, but also, I don't like New York City. I never wanted to be there. I just happened to end up there, and I'm really grateful for the people who supported me while I was there. And they made it a great place to be. I just didn't want to be there from the very beginning. It just wasn't my thing. So when you're thinking about moving to a new country or even a new state or city, I think it comes down to opportunity and happiness and where you can find the middle ground between the two. Because what's the point of being 100% happy if you have zero opportunity? And what's the point of having 100% opportunity if you're miserable? So find the 50-50 ground between the two. And if you think you can come close, move to that place. Another thing to take into account, if you're an astrology person, astrocartography is a good way to kind of judge where your lines fall and where you should move. I don't know a ton about it. I've never gotten my astrocartography read. However, my partner is very into that stuff. And apparently it makes a huge difference for your health, wealth, and anything else, depending on the area and the line or whatever. So it's interesting stuff, though. I've been studying astrology myself because it is actually rather interesting. Once you really think about every king of every nation in the past, or almost every nation, had a mystic that read the stars for them. Like, there's got to be something to it. So anyway, that's what got me here. I know it was kind of a long story, but I'm happy I did it. I think there's a few things that I need to get on about my current situation that are of my own accord. They were created by me. But for the most part, I would say I'm significantly more happier here than I was in the US. So yeah, that's my advice to you. Find the line between happiness and opportunity and go at it. Find that line and ride the line as much as you can. And if you want a little less opportunity and a little bit more happiness, do that. If you want to go hard on that opportunity and come back to the happiness later, you can do that too. So I really appreciate you guys, and I will see you soon. If you want to see some of my other content about Peru or just kind of in general, you can click this button right here. It'll let us stay in contact. Otherwise, right up here, there's a video that YouTube has been kind of just following you throughout your entire YouTube experience. They know what you like, and if you click that, it's going to be perfect for you. So go ahead and check that out, and I will see you soon.